Welcome, y'all. I do want to spend a little bit of time today just kind of talking about the day, working on vlogging, everything like that. Never have worked on vlogging before and was extremely interested in doing so. I was recommended to do so a day earlier on. I was on Clubhouse talking to some people and just had a really great session. It was tremendously awesome. Spent some time talking about my goals and everything like that. Um, I let them know that one of my goals was to be the voice of the Rolex brand. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. It's a goal, it's a dream that was, I believe, placed in my spirit by God. I've always had an aspiration to be, an owner of a Rolex watch, prestigious, jewelry and things of that item. Representing people in very exquisite sports and things of that nature. But I spent a little time talking to them about, that goal and also, you know, YouTube, because YouTube is this really wonderful space where one can create a voice for themselves by speaking and learning how to hear themselves and enjoying, finding some type of peace and solace in videos, and it's really interesting because when I think about that road, you know, one story inevitably continues to arise, and it's the one where I was able to attain my scholarship to college, band scholarship to Southern University on a YouTube video. So that was just, it was so fun to have had accomplished that goal. But I'll be honest, at the time that I accomplished the goal, I didn't really realize that I had done something. I didn't realize that I opened up the door for other people to use that platform to get scholarships in that school. And I also didn't realize that instead of accomplishing a goal with a tool, that I could use that tool to continue to further different visions that I had in life. And I wish I made the most of it at that time. It's fine that I didn't now in retrospect, but it's one thing that I think about often, and it kind of connects to why I'm really passionate about YouTube. One other reason that I'm very passionate about YouTube is because I actually watch a lot of YouTube videos. I enjoy watching the videos. They're fun. There's so many creators that I check out and I watch all the time. Sometimes I have to take time away from watching the videos because I get so inspired that I notice myself comparing myself to other creators whose work that I like. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is that, comparison can be a very dangerous space to get wrapped up in. And I try my best not to get wrapped up in that space. I try to simply just appreciate, what other people are doing, and not compare. But sometimes that's just something that kind of happens. I was recommended by, I can't remember her name, but she's a creator as well. She was telling me, sometimes I mute some people's profiles of creators that I like. It doesn't mean that I don't come back to their artwork and digest their videos at any other time, but it does mean that I have to step away. When you notice that type of cycle continuing to happen. So that was a really cool piece. And earlier today, gentleman, I think his name was, it was Prez. Professor Nez on YouTube. I talked to him today on Clubhouse, and he was telling me, man, essentially, I can see that goal happening for you. And one thing that I would do, that if I were you, is I would potentially investigate and start a podcast. So this is my first podcast. He directed me to do so earlier today. And, I spent a long time today in Camille's pizza shop on Euclid Avenue, aka Little Five Points in Atlanta today. Just talking to the bartender, talking to the servers, just talking to them about the entire conversation that we all had earlier today, enveloped in social media, how to be able to live the life, what to do to in order to live the life that you want to live, because there's so many people I speak to, and I'll be specific. You know, I spoke to one of the servers, and she'll probably be on this video because she subscribes to this channel. Her name is Desiree, and Desiree was saying like, hey, you know, the like I love travel, and you know, the first thing that comes to my mind is that, you know, if you're not one that really does social media and you're not really into social media like that, but you love travel, wrapping our minds, our spirits, and our hearts around the practice of learning how to articulate ourselves and speak through the platforms of social media is what a lot of times allows people to be able to make a good living remotely. But it's just a different way of thinking. And I love the diversified mindsets of the experiences that other people have, but more interesting than those experiences and that actual intellect that's within that person. I'm very interested in one being able to have the opportunity to grow to the next level because one desires that growth, and also uh, I'm very interested in people doing things that they're very uncomfortable doing because that's where the growth lies. You know, I was speaking to my buddy Mike earlier today about just uh, transparency and communicating, and another brother of mine, Coop, we were talking about it too. Just something that I'm enlightened by and inspired that he does is that, you know, we think one thought, but oftentimes we say another thought. And so I think that in order to grow to the next highest form threshold, therefore, of our capacity, we would want to begin to be able to articulate those things out of our mouths that we're thinking as genuine and as authentic as the thought that's actually processing in our minds. A lot of times we say one thing differently from what we think. And I noticed that when I'm able to execute communicating exactly what came to my mind, there's a sense of authentic, genuine transparency that someone else can just immediately pick up. People will say, you know, oh my God, like, you know, they just have a more present experience with your communication because everybody in life has heard a billion and one cliches, you know. 9 times out of 10, a lot of, like what I just said, 9 times out of 10, that's a cliche for a set of percentages or a set of references that we always use to refer to one thing when the proportion is stronger to the other proportion. But nobody ever knows if it's really 9 times out of 10, but that's what we say. And so what I'm just kind of sharing is that, you know, today part of one of the things that I experienced was, you know, the higher sense of life that one experiences when we say exactly what's on our mind and what's exactly on our heart, you know. And it's a really fun thing. But I'm really glad to be here with you all and share and talk to you on my very first video podcast. It's a true joy, and I think I'm actually really looking forward to doing it a lot more. I was thinking to myself, like, you know, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about? Like, I want to practice learning how to be in more joy and more peace with my own voice, because I had a conversation with a gentleman just yesterday. His name was James. And I was driving Uber, and I ended up picking James up, and we were talking. And I was telling him that, you know, everyone that I've pretty much essentially ever met has told me, man, you've got an amazing voice. You know, I've been in front of grocery stores and people have come out saying, hey, dude, like, bro, you need to go on the radio, or you need to do voiceovers, or you need to talk in movies, or you need to, you know, be on those NBA commercials, and we need to hear your voice in the background of cartoons and everything like that. And I always embrace what they offer to me, but I also would mention to them, like, hey, like, how do you do that? I would totally do it. I just don't know how to do it. How do you do that? How do you get into that? You know what I mean? But The interesting thing about that is that if we take analogies and examples in life, for example, someone listening to this podcast right now might be a doctor. But one of the things that this doctor, you, the doctor, would say to me would be, hey, I went to med school, or hey, I was a doctor at this place first, or I gained my experience from that place, third, or whatever the story or the case may be in terms of the series of events that one has performed in order to become that person that they are today. They oftentimes have uh, an amount of experiences that equate to that position that they hold right now in present time in present day. And so what I would say to myself and anyone trying to do something that they don't know how to do in terms of a position, how can I attain a position from doing something I've never done before? How do I become a vocal talent? I would say create the experience. There's an example where people that do photography, they'll tell you, hey, you'll only get hired for the work that you perform. So what does that mean? It means that people that want to get hired for Nike jobs go out, purchase Nike clothing, they hire or collaborate with fellow makeup artists. Well, I can't say fellow makeup artists because we're talking about a photographer, but the photographer will, perhaps get a clothing designer or a shopper, a stylist, I should say, and a stylist will put together the outfits and get together with someone and allow them to fulfill a position that's a casting position where perhaps maybe they're just using a friend that's very athletic, but you get all of these moving pieces together and you create this portfolio that exists within the realm of the positions that you want to hold. And so that's some of the information and the knowledge that I need to move on as well. And so as I figure out where to post this podcast and how to maneuver this show that I'm doing right here, will be inevitably, all of us will be moving in that direction that we want to move by doing the work. We won't get closer to that work by asking questions. We have to give freely and continue to give. And, just like the parable of the farmer that sows the seed, you grow a peach tree from sowing a peach seed. So how can you grow whatever it is you want? You must sow seeds of that very thing. And so, we'll wrap it up right here. But man, just such a blessing to talk to you all. I look forward to just seeing you all and doing this thing once again. It wasn't as nerve-wracking and fearful to just turn on the camera and talk to the mic, and I'm really glad I did. Shout out to Professor Nez. I hope he gets a chance to see this video one day. And just want to thank God up above, family, friends, everybody. Peace and blessings, y'all. 13 minutes and out.